Me, Ethan, I had transmigrated into a book. I transmigrated into a brainless, rich, second-generation villain. The plot opens at a top-tier banquet where, for the sake of a woman, I publicly humiliate the novel's male lead. According to the script, next the male lead will thoroughly humiliate me, my family will go bankrupt, and I will end up dying miserably on the street. And that male lead will step over my corpse when the beauty and ascend to the peak of life. I looked at the glass of 1982 Lafite in my hand, then at the pair of children of destiny sitting before me. The man put on a stoic face, his eyes full of the resentment of 30 years on the east side of the river, 30 years on the west. The woman looked haughty, wearing the smug, green tea expression of, I know you like me, but you're not worthy of me. A group of guests around us waited to watch the performance of me, this clown. My system emitted a prompt sound. Ding! Host life is detected to be under threat. Villain correction system activated. Newbie task. According to the original plot, throw the red wine in the male lead Leo's face and say the classic line. You worthy of Sophia? Task reward, none. Task penalty, instant death on the spot. I smiled. Fuck the script. Fuck the male and female leads. Why should my life be a stepping stone for someone else? The system, right? The plot, right? Today, I'll show you what a true villain looks like. The banquet hall was resplendent in gold and jade, the crystal chandeliers making people's heads swim. The air smelled of an obnoxious mix of high-end perfume and money. My name is Ethan. One second I was at home picking my toes and reading a novel. The next I was standing here. I transmigrated into a novel. I had transmigrated into the stupid villain in the book who share my exact name. Just a puddle of experience. In front of me stood a man and a woman. The man is called Leo, the book's overpowered male lead, dressed in a server's outfit, his back straight as a rod, his gaze 3 parts stubborn, 7 parts disdainful, just missing the words, "Don't look down on a poor youth," carved on his face. The woman is called Sophia, one of the male lead's official matches, an icy beauty persona. At this moment, she's giving me a look that says I'm trash, yet the corners of her mouth are slightly upturned, savoring the vanity of being fought over by 2 men. Ethan, don't go too far. Sophia speaks, her voice so cold it could shed ice shavings. Leo just accidentally bumped into me. Who are you to make things difficult for him? The guests around whispered and pointed their fingers at me. That Johnson kid is really getting out of hand. Tell me about it. Acting lawless just because his family has some filthy money. See? It was a good show today. The system in my head was still beeping. Host, execute the task immediately. Humiliate Leo. Countdown begins. 10-9. I held the wine glass, gently flicking my wrist. The wine-red liquid swayed in the glass, reflecting my still fairly handsome face at this moment. I looked at Sophia and smiled. Am I making things difficult for him? I took a step forward. Sophia instinctively stepped back, her brows knitting even tighter. Leo stepped forward, putting himself between us, striking a protector's pose. Ethan, if you have something to say it to me. Don't put a woman in an awkward position. Well, look at that. The hero rescues beauty routine is already unfolding. So touching. Too bad. I don't follow the script. Countdown 5, 4. I raise my hand. Everyone thought I would throw the wine at Leo. Leo had even prepared himself for the humiliation, a flame of future revenge flickering in his eyes. A trace of satisfaction flashed in Sophia's eyes. Smack! A sharp crack. The entire banquet hall fell silent in an instant. You could hear a pin drop. Everyone was stunned. Leo was stunned. Sophia was stunned too. She covered her instantly swollen, reddened face, eyes full of disbelief. You hit me? I didn't hit her. I simply pressed a glass of red wine, cup and all, against that smug face of hers. The glass slid down her cheek, hit the floor, and shattered. Red wine ran down her hair and cheeks, staining her expensive white evening gown, leaving her in a pitiful state. System alert. System alert. Plot seriously deviating. Host behavior abnormal. The system's voice was as shrill as a chicken with its tail stepped on. I ignored it. I looked at the stunned Leo and leisurely took a handkerchief from my suit pocket to wipe the wine stain on my hand. You're aiming at me? I size him up from head to toe, my tone calm. Will you even? You think you're worthy of me aiming at you? I was disciplining my fiancée. What does that have to do with you, a waiter? I tossed the used handkerchief straight into Leo's face. Get away from me. Don't dirty my eyes. After saying that, I turned and left, leaving behind a mess and a field of shattered eyeballs. Behind me were Sophia's hysterical screams and Leo's rage-suppressed roars. Ethan, Leo, swear, this humiliation today will be repaid 100-fold someday. I didn't look back. There was only one word in my mind. Nice. Fuck the plot. Fuck the humiliation. What I want to be is a villain who can pin the protagonist to the ground and grind him. Ding. Host has successfully torn up the newbie plot. Villain fortune plus 100. System mode switching. Villain correction system offline. Welcome, Master. Grand villain crushing system is now activated. System purpose. The protagonist is meant to be trampled. The heroine is meant to be dumped, and opportunities are meant to be grabbed. Let all the destined children tremble under their master's feet. A cold smile curled at the corner of my mouth. Now, that's a bit more interesting. When I returned to the Johnson family's villa, the old man of the Johnsons. My father in this life, Arthur Johnson, was sitting on the living room sofa, his face as dark as the bottom of a pot. On the coffee table lay a shattered antique vase. He looked seriously enraged. You unfilial child. You actually came back. When Arthur saw me, he grabbed a feather duster and charged over. I didn't dodge. I just watched him quietly. Arthur's feather duster hung in midair, stubbornly refusing to fall. The way he looked at me was a little unfamiliar, a little scared. There's a call from the Taylor household. He eventually put down the feather duster and, panting, sat back on the sofa. Sophia de Fuqin, Robert, 说要我们 Johnson 家给个说法，否则这婚约就作废. Oh, the Taylors, a second-rate family who only barely squeezed into high society through an alliance with my Johnson family. Now you actually dare to threaten me? Seems you think your daughter has hooked up with Long Outyin and now has some backing. Explanation. I let out a light laugh. I beat my fiancée. Don't need to give anyone an explanation for that. You. Arthur's beard trembled with fury. Do you know how important an alliance with the Taylor family is for our company? Now you've made this mess. The company's stock will hit the limit down tomorrow. If it hits the limit down, let hit the limit down. I indifferently walked to the liquor cabinet and poured myself a glass of whiskey. What does a company on the brink of bankruptcy care about stock prices? Arthur sprang up suddenly, staring at me in shock. You, what did you say? I rattled the ice in my glass, producing a crisp sound. I'm telling you, the Johnson Group will go bankrupt within a month. In the original book, this was the scene where I, the villain, get publicly humiliated and my family suffers as a result. Now, I said it in advance. Arthur's face went pale in an instant. Impossible. The company just landed a big project recently. Everything was improving. How could it go bankrupt? A big project? I sneered. You mean the development deal for that plot in South City? How did you know? I also know that, to secure that project, you diverted all the company's working capital and took out a huge loan from the bank. I walked up to him and set the wine glass on the coffee table. Dad, you've been deceived. That project was a scam from start to finish. A trap tailor-made for you. Arthur's body trembled and he plopped back down on the sofa. His eyes were full of fear and despair. Who is trying to harm me? Leo. I spat out the name. In the original book, Leo used this project to ruin the Johnson family and complete his first wave of primitive accumulation. Now that I've arrived, the rules of the game need to change. A waiter. Arthur couldn't believe it. Not just any waiter. I patted his shoulder. But don't worry. With me here, the Johnsons won't fall. Just then, the villa's doorbell rang. The butler went to open the door. Robert, with Sophia in tow, barged in aggressively. Sophia had changed her clothes, but the red marks on her face hadn't faded. Her eyes were swollen like walnuts. glaring at me with hatred. Arthur Johnson, your son is really full of himself. Robert strode in and demanded an explanation. If you don't give me an account today, the marriage between our two families is off. Arthur, having just been taken down by me, now looked pale and couldn't utter a word. I stepped forward and stood in front of Arthur. Confess? What kind of confession do you want? Robert was cowed by my momentum, but he soon straightened his chest again. I want you to apologize to my daughter, right now, immediately. Kneel and apologize. Get down and apologize? I felt as if I had heard the biggest joke in the world. Robert, are you still not awake? I picked up my phone and dialed a number. Hello, Lawyer David? Draft a breakup agreement for me. Yes, between me and Sophia. Also, notify everyone. All businesses under the Johnson Group are to terminate all cooperation with the Taylor Group. Immediately right now. I hung up the phone and looked at Robert and his daughter, whose faces had gone instantly ashen. Breaking off the engagement? Fine. However, you're not the one breaking off my engagement. I pointed toward the door, my voice icy. It's me, Ethan. I don't want your daughter, Taylor, anymore. Now, take your daughter and get out of my house. Robert's lips trembled. He couldn't utter a single word. Sophia's face was full of humiliation and unwillingness. She couldn't understand why the plot had completely changed. Why had the sycophant who had been fawning over her for 3 years suddenly become so unfamiliar, so terrifying? Ethan, you will regret this, Sophia said through gritted teeth. Leo, he won't let you go. Leo, I walked up to her, bent down, and whispered in her ear. Do you really think he can beat me? Go back and tell him to wash his neck clean and wait for me. His game is only just beginning. Taylor and his daughter slunk out in disgrace. In the living room, Arthur sat like a statue, unmoving for a long time. The way he looked at me had completely changed, from anger to shock and now to dependence. Ethan, is what you said true? Is the company really in danger? His voice was trembling. I nodded and sat down opposite him. The South City Project. The partner is called Tianyu Investment, right? Yes. It's a new company with strong backing. It's a shell company, I said bluntly. Leo is pulling the strings behind the scenes. He lured you in with a fake investment prospectus. Once you pour all your funds in, he'll pull the rug out and abscond with the money. Then the bank will come calling, the cash flow will collapse, and not even the Johnson Group can save you. Arthur broke out in a cold sweat all at once. Then what do we do now? The contract is signed, and the first payment has already been transferred. Don't rush. I picked up the glass of whiskey from earlier and downed it in one gulp. The show has only just begun. I took out my phone and dialed another number. Hello, Michael? It's Ethan. I need your help with something. Yes, an economic crime. I have a complete chain of evidence here that can put a company called Tinerton and a mastermind behind it behind bars. The address? I'll send it to you right away. After hanging up, Arthur was already stupefied. Michael? Director Michael of the Municipal Economic Investigation Bureau. When did you meet someone that important? I didn't explain. As the big villain in the book, having some family background and connections is kind of normal, isn't it? It's just that the idiot Ethan before only had women on his mind and never thought about using those powers. But I'm different. What I intend to do is, with overwhelming force, show Leo what despair truly is. Dad, what you need to do now is stabilize the company situation, pretend you know nothing, and keep up a facade of cordiality with Tianyu Investment. I gave him the orders. Leave the rest to me. Arthur looked at me, his expression complicated. He felt that his son had grown up overnight, or rather, had become a different person, someone who felt unfamiliar to him, yet utterly reliable. On the other side, in a shabby rented room, Leo was tenderly dressing Sophia's wound with a look of heartache. Sophia, I'm sorry. It's all my fault for being useless and letting you suffer this injustice. Sophia's eyes were red as she shook her head. Not your fault. It's that bastard Ethan's fault. I never expected him to become so utterly insane. He will pay. Leo's gaze hardened. After I bring down the Johnsons, I'll make him kneel before you and kowtow to apologize. His confidence came from a secret in his head. A week ago, he accidentally acquired a godly rich guy slap-in-the-face system. The system can help him make money and gain power and connections that ordinary people can hardly reach. That project in Nansheng was the system's newbie mission for him. If he succeeded, he would get his first pot of gold, completely ruin the Johnsons, and fire the first shot in his own comeback. Ethan has already terminated our family's cooperation with the Taylors. My dad is furious, Sophia said with worry. It's all right, Leo reassured. Once the Johnsons fall, Uncle Robert will know who the real perfect son-in-law is. By then, I'll make the Taylors the top family in Jing City. Sophia looked at his confident demeanor, her eyes lighting up. This was the man she wanted. Ambitious, resourceful. Not like Ethan, who's just a useless bully using his family background to oppress others. Just as the two were fantasizing about the future, a cold, alert tone from the system suddenly sounded in Leo's mind. Alarm! Alarm! Detection of host's core plan leak. Danger level, extremely high. Recommend host immediately abandon current plan and run away at once. Leo's face drained white in an instant. How is that possible? My plan was flawless. How could it have been leaked? The economic investigation team has locked onto the host's location and is expected to arrive in 3 minutes. Repeat, the host must flee immediately. Boom! A loud bang. Someone kicked open the rental room's door from the outside. Several officers in uniform, faces stern, rushed in. You're Leo, right? You're suspected of business fraud and contract fraud. Come with us. Cold handcuffs clicked onto Leo's wrists. Leo was completely stunned. He couldn't make sense of it. Why? Why did this happen? His system, his golden finger. Why did they become as fragile as paper in front of Ethan? He saw it when he was being escorted out. Downstairs, beside a black Rolls-Royce, Ethan was leaning against the car door, smoking. The night breeze lifted the hem of his coat, and a faint, mocking smile played on his face. Their gazes met in the air. Leo saw Ethan's lips move slightly. He understood that sentence. The game is over. The news that Leo had been taken away spread through the high society like a gust of wind. The child of destiny, who had been grandstanding at the banquet just the day before, was, in the blink of an eye, a captive. As for me, Ethan, the prodigal once mocked by everyone, I suddenly became an enigmatic figure. The next day, Johnson Group stock didn't fall. Instead, it rose slightly because of timely loss cutting to avoid major investment risks. Arthur was buoyant at the board meeting, taking all the credit for himself, spouting things like an old man feeling youthful impulse, and strategizing within the command. I knew he was just protecting his pitiful pride. I didn't expose him. Anyway, the whole company would belong to me sooner or later. The Taylor's phone rang again. This time it was Robert, his tone as obsequious as a eunuch. Mr. Johnson, it's a misunderstanding, all a misunderstanding. Sophia is a foolish child. Please don't take it to heart with her. As for the engagement, our Taylor family has no objections. Everything will be arranged according to Mr. Johnson's wishes. Oh, I leaned back in a boss chair in the office, feet propped on the desk, toying with a metal lighter. But I remember, Miss Taylor already has someone she likes, right? On the other end of the line, Robert was sweating bullets. No, absolutely not. That's all rumors. Sophia only has Mr. Johnson in her heart. I smiled. So damn pragmatic. This is human nature. When you're strong, the whole world is pleasant to you. When you're weak, even a dog wants to come up and stomp on you. Let the betrothal be forgotten, I said calmly. I don't want to pick up the worn-out shoes Ethan has worn. Beep, beep, beep. I hung up the phone immediately. I can picture Robert on the other end of the line, his face going from pale to green to purple. It must have been quite a show. Ding. Detected that the host successfully humiliated the original female lead's family and suppressed the protagonist's arrogance. Gained 500 villain points. Villain points can be exchanged in the system shop for various items, skills, and physiques. Current available points, 600 points. A system interface unfolded in his mind. The in-game store was filled with a dazzling array of items. God-level fighting techniques, Grandmaster-level driving skills, photographic memory, business, genius, aura. There are even some black technologies and supernatural things. Gene enhancement serum, micro-reconnaissance robots, basic fire control technique. This world seems to be a little more interesting than I imagined. I didn't rush to redeem anything. These are all trinkets. Leo is just a small boss in the newbie village. The real show is still to come. In the original book, Leo meets a mysterious old man in prison who teaches him ancient martial arts and then helps him break out, after which he returns to the world and becomes unstoppable. How could I let him have it so easy? I gave Michael a call. Michael, sorry to bother you again. That kid named Leo, take special care of him for me. Yeah, lock him up with an old man called Ghost Hand Victor King. Thanks. Victor Ghost Hand King, a legendary figure in Jing City Prison. He was sentenced to life imprisonment for stealing something from a certain big shot. It said that when he was young, he was a grave robber, capable of bone-shrinking techniques and strange footwork, so that 3 to 5 ordinary people couldn't get close to him. Most importantly, the thing he hated most in his life was smooth-talking, self-righteous pretty boys. Handing Leo over to him was simply a match made in heaven. I could almost see Leo's asshole undergoing a severe trial. Thinking of this, I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Being the villain is fucking fun. Still smiling, someone knocked on the office door. My new secretary, a girl named Chloe White, walked in. Pure-looking face, smoking hot body, the typical baby face with huge breasts. The most important thing is, she isn't any character from book. This is someone the headhunting firm I hired recently brought in, well vetted and clean. Mr. Johnson, there's a gentleman downstairs named Brown asking for you. He says he's your childhood friend. Surname Brown? I ran through the original owner's memories in my head. Ryan Brown, another equally uneducated, rich second generation. The original owner's best friend, and also one of the unlucky guys Leo cannon foddered earliest in the book. By my calculations, it should be his turn to appear. Let him come up. Soon, a young man in a floral shirt with his hair dyed blonde burst in full of energy. Ethan, you're fucking awesome. Ryan came in and punched me as soon as he entered. I heard you dumped that bitch Sophia. And at the banquet you sent that Leo guy packing? For real. I nodded. Ryan looked at me as if I were an alien. Holy shit, you turned into a different person? Weren't you worshipping Sophia like a deity before? He circled me twice, clicking his tongue in amazement. Something's off, man. Seriously off. All you used to do was chase girls and race cars. When did you get to know big shots at the Economic Investigation Bureau? You call this junk? I ignored his outrage and pointed to the sofa opposite. Sit down and talk. I poured him a cup of water. What do you need me for? Ryan's expression turned serious. Something happened. My sister, she's been kidnapped. Ryan's sister, Emma, a character who received little attention in the original book. A strong, self-made woman who founded her own security company and built a very successful business. Independent in personality and strikingly beautiful in appearance, she became one of Leo's later harem. However, her encounter with Leo began with a kidnapping. The kidnappers want $100 million ransom. No calling the police, or they'll kill him. Ryan was so anxious his forehead was covered in sweat. We simply can't come up with that kind of cash right now. Ethan, you're sharp. Help me think of a way. I leaned back in my chair, my fingers lightly tapping the tabletop. The plot, it started again. According to the original book's development, Ryan, driven into a corner, would seek help from the champion of an underground fighting ring. But he'd be deceived. At the critical moment when his sister was about to be killed, Leo, who was locked in the neighboring cell, would use the ancient martial arts he had just learned from the mysterious old man to knock out the guard and successfully break out of prison. Then, Leo, backed by protagonist's aura, will find the place where Emma is imprisoned, show off his prowess, eliminate all the kidnappers, rescue the beauty, and win her embrace. At the same time, he will gain the Brown family's gratitude and connections. 1 arrow, 3 kills. A perfect show-off, face-slapping plot. Too bad, now there's me. Before your sister was kidnapped, had she offended anyone? I asked. No, Ryan shook his head. My sister has always been friendly in business and never made enemies. Recently, has her company been competing for business with a gang called Black Snake? I said it outright. Ryan's eyes instantly widened. Fuck, how did you know? This was supposed to be secret. Even I didn't know. I knew that, of course, because this kidnapping was being remotely orchestrated by Leo from inside prison. The leader of that Black Snake gang was a lackey Leo had recruited with the system before he went in. The whole thing was a charade. Leo staged himself to break out of prison, to play the hero and rescue the beauty, to win Emma over. He even chose the kidnapping site at an abandoned factory near the prison, so he could get there first after escaping. What a genius. Don't ask me how I knew. I stood up and picked up my coat. Right now, you go home and wait for my call. Remember, don't let anyone contact you, especially those shady underground forces. And you? Ryan asked. Me? I smiled. I'm going to rescue your sister. Just you, Ryan said skeptically. You've never even fought before? If you go, you'll just be handing yourself over, won't you? I said nothing. I only walked to the office's floor-to-ceiling window and looked down at the bustling traffic on the street below. Then I raised my hand and lightly flicked my finger against the thick tempered glass. Crack, a soft sound. The entire huge tempered glass, centered on where my fingertip flicked, instantly filled with spiderweb-like cracks. Then, with a crash, it shattered into countless small pieces, like a waterfall, pouring down from the height of the 30th floor. It caused a chorus of screams downstairs. Ryan gaped. The cup in his hand dropped to the floor and smashed to pieces. He looked at my back as if he'd seen a ghost. Holy shit. He couldn't find any words to describe how he felt. I turned around and patted his shoulder. Now, do you still think I went there to be cannon fodder? Ryan shook his head frantically. Ding. Detected that the host displayed strength in front of an important supporting character, greatly increasing personal prestige. Gained 1,000 villain points. Exchanging 4 god-level combat technique requires 500 points. Redeem. Exchange. I whispered in my mind. A massive stream of information instantly poured into my head. Muscles, bones, nerves. I felt my body undergoing a strange transformation. It was as if I had been born a martial arts master. All the world's killing techniques are engraved in my DNA. The corner of my mouth lifts. Leo, your script. I've torn out another page. The stage you prepared is ready for this villain to perform. I hope those kidnappers let me have a little more fun. The outskirts, an abandoned factory. The air was filled with the smell of rust and dust. Emma was tied to a chair, her mouth sealed with tape. She tried hard to remain calm, but a trace of fear still showed deep in her eyes. In front of her stood several fierce-looking big men. Leading them was a bald man with a black snake tattoo on his neck. The boss of the Black Snake, Tony Black Snake Garcia. Boss, is that kid really going to come? One of the henchmen asked. Don't worry. Tony sneered. Mr. Leo's plan is flawless. By now he should have gotten out of that hellhole. Once he rescues that girl, we'll get the money and hook up with Mr. Leo. We'll be set for life. But what if the Browns call the police? What are you afraid of? Mr. Leo said he'll take care of the police. We just have to play our part in this show. At that moment, the factory's big iron gate was kicked open from the outside with a loud clang. Sunlight streamed in, and a slender figure stood in the doorway, backlit. Everyone, were you waiting for me? Tony and the others narrowed their eyes and made out the newcomer. He was a handsome young man dressed in casual clothes. Not Leo. Who the hell are you? Tony frowned. The one who comes to save people. I walked in step by step. My gaze swept over everyone present. The 5 kidnappers each held machetes and steel pipes. In the corner was Emma, bound. Just like in the script. Kid, if you don't want to die, you'd better get lost. This ain't your business, one blonde henchman shouted. I ignored him. I looked at Emma. She was staring at me with a mixture of surprise and confusion. I smiled at her and signaled for her to stay calm. Then I looked at Tony. Leo sent you? Tony's expression changed in an instant. I don't know what you're talking about. Get him. Kill him. He reacted quickly. Realizing the matter had been exposed, he immediately chose to kill to silence them. 5 burly men, roaring, charged at me. A machete, flashing cold light, came down, aimed at my head. Emma gave a cry of alarm and closed her eyes, unable to bear it. God-level fighting technique activated. The next second, the world seemed to slow down. I could even make out their distorted faces reflected on the blade. I turned my body and dodged the first cleaver. My elbow followed through upward, precisely striking that blonde's jaw. Crack! The sound of bone shattering. The blonde didn't even manage a scream before he was sent flying, crashed into the wall, and passed out. I grabbed the wrist of the other thug who was swinging at me with my other hand and twisted hard. Ah! A piercing, agonized scream rang out. His arm was twisted by me into a grotesque angle. I snatched the steel pipe from his hand, without looking, and hurled it backward. Bang! It hit the temple of the attacker, sneaking up behind us dead center. His eyes bulged, and he toppled straight down. The whole process took less than 3 seconds. 5 kidnappers, 3 went down. The remaining Tony and the other henchmen were completely stunned. They looked at me as if they were staring at a demon crawling out of hell. You? What you really? Tony's voice was trembling. I didn't answer. I twisted the steel pipe in my hands like a toy, bending it into a corkscrew. Then, she casually tossed it to the ground, producing a crisp clang. That sound struck Tony's heart like a heavy hammer. Plop! Tony fell to his knees. Without hesitation, "Sir, spare us. We didn't recognize greatness. Have mercy." I walked up to him, crouched down, and tapped his face. "Tell me, where's Leo?" I don't know." Tony was close to tears. "He just called me. I've never even met him." "Is that so?" I stood up and planted my foot on his palm. I pressed down hard and ground it. Ah! The sound of bone being crushed and Tony's pig-like screams reverberated through the empty factory. Emma watched on, pale as death, her stomach churning. "I'll ask again, where is Leo?" My voice had not a trace of warmth. I'll tell you. Tony completely broke down. "He's in the abandoned mine in Nanshan. We arranged to meet there to hand it over. He said he would take that woman there." Nanshan abandoned mine. Just as I expected. That was the place Leo had prepared for himself. A hiding spot to slip away unnoticed. I lifted my foot. "Get lost." Thank you, Master." Tony rolled and crawled, dragging the last underling who hadn't passed out, and fled. I didn't kill them, because they were still useful. They would be like 2 frightened mice, bringing fear and despair to their masters. In the factory, only Emma and I remained. I walked over, helped her untie the ropes, and tore the tape from her mouth. Her wrists were marked red from the restraints, her face pale, but her eyes were unusually bright. She looked at me, the man who had just been performing a display of violent aesthetics. "Thank you, you're Ethan." She recognized me. Or rather, she recognized the former worthless Ethan. I nodded. "Your brother sent me." She stood up, moving her numb limbs, her chest heaving violently. "The guy just now, Leo? Why'd he kidnap me?" "A foolish smartass, putting on a little hero saving the beauty act, that's all," I said lightly. "Too bad, he picked the wrong audience and overestimated the actor." Emma, quick-witted, immediately understood the cause and effect. A trace of disgust and lingering fear appeared on her face. "What do we do now? Call the police?" "No." I shook my head, a cruel curve lifting the corner of my mouth. "The game isn't over yet. Since he set the stage, how can we not go and applaud? Come on, I'll take you to see a good show." Nanshan abandoned mine. Leo sat on a rock, brows furrowed. He had been waiting here for almost an hour. No news at all from Tony. He succeeded. In prison, he endured humiliation and hardship and extracted the method of escaping from Victor Ghost Hand King. Then, relying on the superhuman physique granted by the system, he escaped without incident. Everything went exactly according to plan. Now, He only had to wait for Tony to bring Emma over. He would, in front of Emma, pretend to take out Tony and the others, putting on a perfect hero rescues beauty performance. From then on, he would win Emma's heart and the support of the Brown family, and soar to success. But why hasn't he arrived yet? A sense of unease spread through his chest. He called the system in his mind. System scanned Tony's location. The system gave no response. From the moment he broke out, that system that had always babbled on had been as if dead, silent and motionless. Fuck. Leo cursed under his breath. The unease in his chest grew heavier. He decided not to wait any longer and took the initiative to go to the factory to see what was going on. He had just stood up when a languid voice came from deep within the mine. Don't be in such a hurry to leave. I haven't finished looking yet. Leo stiffened all over and spun around. Ethan was sitting with his legs crossed on an old mining cart, holding a bag of popcorn. Beside him stood Emma, her expression complicated. Ethan, Leo's pupils constricted instantly. What are you doing here? Waiting for you. I grabbed a handful of popcorn, tossed it into my mouth, and chewed with a satisfying crunch. Your acting is terrible. As a spectator, I just couldn't watch any longer, so I had to step in and give you some guidance. Where are Tony and the others? Leo's heart sank to the pit of his stomach. You mean those useless guys? I pointed outside the mine. They should be here soon, right? No sooner had I finished speaking than a pitiful howl came from outside the mine. Tony and his last lackey were thrown in like dead dogs. Both were covered in wounds, barely clinging to life. Several burly men in black suits and sunglasses blocked the mine tunnel's exit. They were the Johnson family's bodyguards. Leo's face went completely pale. He knew he was finished. All his plans, all his schemes before this man were like a joke. What? He stared at me fixedly, his eyes full of reluctance and resentment. I had calculated everything clearly. How on earth did you know? Want to know? I jumped down from the minecart and walked up to him. Because I'm not playing a game with you. I leaned into his ear and spoke in a voice only the two of us could hear. I'm eradicating the virus. Virus? Leo was stunned. He didn't understand. I didn't explain further. I waved my hand at the bodyguard behind me. Break his limbs, tie him together with those two useless ones, and throw them back at the prison gate. Tell the wardens to say an escaped convict was caught by concerned citizens. Yes, Mr. Johnson. The bodyguards pounced like wolves and tigers. Leo's screams echoed throughout the entire mine. The sound was even more grating than a butcher slaughtering a pig. Emma turned her head, unable to bear watching any longer. I walked over to her, took off my own coat, and draped it over her. Let's go. The air here is bad. On the ride back, Emma remained silent the whole time. The atmosphere in the car felt somewhat oppressive. We were almost into the city when she finally spoke. Ethan, you're really different from before. People change, I said lightly, looking out at the night view. Thank you for saving me today. She paused, then added, what do you want in return? Anything I can do. Repay? I turned my head and looked at her. In the dim light, her profile was beautiful, resolute, yet with a hint of fragility. Indeed, a stunning beauty. If it were the old Ethan, he would have definitely taken the opportunity to make some improper demands. But I'm not him. I don't need you to repay me. I withdrew my gaze. I have only one request. What? Keep away from any man with the surname Smith. Any man called Smith, or any man who looks like a Smith. Especially those who are obviously penniless, yet always act like they're number one in the world and everyone owes them money. Those idiots. They will bring bad luck. Emma was stunned. She hadn't expected that I would make such a request. She looked at me, her eyes full of curiosity. How many secrets does this man really have? Ding. Detected that the host's actions have greatly affected one of the original heroines, Emma, causing her to feel extreme disgust toward the destined child Leo, weakening the protagonist aura. Gained 2,000 villain points. System shop refreshed, new advanced exchange items added. I ignored the system's prompt. The car stopped at the Brown family's villa gate. We're here. Emma unbuckled her seatbelt, but didn't get out immediately. She turned her head and looked at me intently. Ethan, I owe you my life. From now on, whenever you need anything from me, Emma, just say the word. I nodded, saying nothing. Watching her walk into the villa, I finally told the driver to start the car. This newbie village boss Leo was completely stomped flat by me. But I knew, in this world, since one Leo can appear, a second, a third could also appear. The real game may have only just begun. The next month was calm and peaceful. Leo met a terrible end. Escape and intentional injury, multiple crimes merged into one sentence, were punished with 20 years. They say that in prison he was being very well looked after by Victor Ghost Hand King, and every night there would be sounds from the cell block that set people's imaginations running. That mysterious system of his never appeared again. Under my covert maneuvering, the Johnson Corporation had completely shaken off the crisis. I used villain points to redeem a commercial genius aura. Although it was single use, it was enough for me to ferret out all the parasites in the company and sign several lucrative big contracts. Arthur now does whatever I say. He has already started the formalities for transferring his shares and is preparing to retire early and dote on his grandchildren. On the Brown side, Emma's security company voluntarily took on all of Johnson Group's security work and is only charging cost price. She asked me out to dinner a few times, and I turned her down each time, citing being busy with work. I'm not interested in her. I only want to quietly be a mastermind villain behind the scenes and enjoy the pleasure of controlling everything. But the tree desires stillness while the wind refuses to stop. Peaceful days are always brief. One day, Chloe knocked and came in, her expression somewhat strange. Mr. Johnson, there's someone downstairs asking for you. He says he's from 10 years in the future, here specifically to save you. I was reading documents. Hearing that, I didn't even look up. Crazy? Have security throw him out. But Chloe hesitated. He said he knows your biggest secret. He also said that a great disaster is about to befall you. Oh, now, this is getting interesting. I put down the file in my hand, intrigued. Bring him up. Soon, a young man dressed plainly but with unusually sharp eyes walked into my office. He saw me and became somewhat agitated. Ethan, it's really you. You're still alive. I sized him up. I don't know this person. There is no such figure in the original host's memories either. Are you the one who came back from 10 years later? I asked. Yes. The young man nodded heavily. My name is Lucas. 10 years from now, you're my boss. Together, we fight an organization called the Mandate Lead. Mandate Alliance? What new script is this? What will I be like 10 years from now? I asked with great interest. Lucas's gaze dimmed. Boss, you're dead. To cover our retreat, you alone held off the 7 heavenly kings of the Mandate Alliance and died fighting. It was your last act of strength that sent me back 10 years. You made me return to change all of this. The story is well written, with full feeling and expression. If I were a fool, I might have believed it. What is the Destiny Alliance? I continued to ask. An evil organization made up of countless protagonists. Lucas's eyes were full of hatred. They're like locusts shuttling between parallel worlds, plundering fortune and destroying worlds. Our world is their next target. And you, Ethan, are the only hope in this world who can stand against them. You are the born World Guardian, an organization made up of protagonists? World Guardian? This script is way more advanced than Leo's. Then you came back. How do you plan to help me? I leaned back in my chair, half smiling as I looked at him. I'm going to help you become stronger. Lucas said solemnly. I know all the opportunities and treasures of the next 10 years. Where there are heavenly materials and earthbound treasures, where there are divine cultivation manuals, I know them all. First, tonight at the Victoria auction, there's going to be an unremarkable black stone. Inside, it is the legacy of an ancient cultivator. Boss, we have to get our hands on it. Victoria auction. I know this auction. The highest tier auction in Jing City. Entry tickets require proof of assets in the tens of millions of dollars. This guy called Lucas is dressed in a full set of flea market clothes. He probably wouldn't even be allowed in. So, you need me to get you an entry ticket and also put up the money to bid for that stone for you. I saw through his purpose with one remark. Lucas's face flushed slightly. Boss, I really do, but please believe me. I would never harm you. This is all for the future of our world. He spoke with righteous conviction, passionate and stirring. Those who don't know him would really think he's a savior of humanity. I looked at him and suddenly laughed. All right, I'll give you money, and I'll give you an admission ticket. Tonight, let's go together to see that miraculous stone. A flash of wild joy and triumph passed through Lucas's eyes, but he covered it very well. Thanks, boss. I knew it. You definitely believe me. I didn't say anything, just shook my head. What a pathetic fellow. You think you're the protagonist who returned by rebirth? No. In my eyes, you're merely a small boss that just spawned in the newbie village. You can't even write your script to be coherent. You really think I don't know what you are? A variant of the rich guy slap-in-the-face system? The reborn prophet system? Just change your alias and expect to keep showing off in front of me? Too naive. Ding. New type, child of destiny detected. Reborn Lucas. Task issued. Seize Lucas's destined opportunity, ancient inheritance, and expose his disguise. Task reward. 5,000 villain points. Unlock system new feature, Eye of Truth. The smile at the corner of my mouth grew even stronger. Tonight's auction will surely be spectacular. The Victoria auction draws a gathering of celebrities. When I walked into the venue with Lucas, we attracted quite a few glances. Many people know me, the heir of the Johnson family who's been in the spotlight lately. But when they look at Lucas, their eyes are full of contempt and disdain. Wearing clothes that cost no more than $500, here he really does look like an oddity. Lucas seems completely unconcerned. He stood with his chest out and head held high, trailing behind me, as if he were the master of this place. The greed and excitement in his eyes were almost about to spill over. He thought that with his rebirth, he would henceforth take command of the situation, that the world's treasures would be his for the taking. Ridiculous. The auction began soon. The front section was all antiques, paintings, and jewelry. I was completely uninterested. Lucas, on the other hand, appeared very impatient and kept urging me on. Boss, don't worry. The good stuff is in the back, I reassured him. Finally, the host brought out a display stand. On the stand lay a fist-sized, pitch-black stone. Ladies and gentlemen, the next lot is somewhat special. The host explained, this is a stone unearthed from an ancient ruin. Its material is unknown and it's extremely hard. We have tried every method and still cannot cut it. Opening bid, $100,000. 100,000 US dollars for a worthless stone? The entire hall burst into uproar. Everyone thought the organizers had gone mad with greed. Boss, it's this one. Lucas grabbed my arm excitedly. Hurry, take a photo of it. I raised the paddle. $1 million. I directly raised the price to an outrageous level. I just wanted to make everyone notice this stone. Sure enough, the whole room looked at me as if I were an idiot. That Johnson kid, does his family have money to burn? $1 million for a piece of junk stone, what a spendthrift. The host was stunned for a moment, then visibly pleased. Mr. Number 10 bids $1 million US dollars. Any higher? No one bid. Who would spend $1 million US dollars to buy a useless stone? $1 million US dollars going once. $1 million twice. Just as the hammer was about to come down, a clear, cold voice rang out from the other side of the venue. $10 million. The entire hall fell instantly silent. Everyone turned to look toward the sound. On the VIP seats, a woman in a white practice robe, her long hair reaching her waist and her bearing otherworldly, slowly set down the card in her hand. A thin veil covered her face, obscuring her features. But her eyes, bright as stars, seemed to see through people's hearts. It's her. A thought stirred in my mind. Ancient martial arts family. Miss Moore of the Moore household, Elena Moore. In the original book, a female character with great strength and a mysterious background. She was also one of the top concubines that Leo could only approach in the later stages. How did she end up here? And she's interested in this stone? Lucas's expression instantly turned ugly. He stared at Elena, his eyes full of jealousy and venom. He recognized this woman, or rather, the him from his previous life had heard the legends about her. She is truly a favored daughter of heaven, someone he could only look up to in his past life. Damn it, how could it be her? Lucas cursed under his breath. How could she know the secret of this stone? He looked at me and said urgently, "Boss, raise the price. We must get it, whatever it costs." I smiled. Why raise the price? Lucas was stunned. No extra charge. The thing is hers. That's an ancient inheritance. It can make us rise to the top in one step. Or make you rise to the top. I looked at him indifferently. Lucas, have you forgotten that the money is mine? Why on earth would I spend a few $100 million to buy you a toy? Lucas's face instantly flushed the color of raw liver. Boss, what do you mean? You promised me. I promised to bring you here and to give you money. I stood up and straightened my suit. But I didn't agree to be a fool for you to toy with. You stitched together a story full of holes, trying to con people out of nothing. Who are you to order me around? My voice wasn't loud, but in the quiet meeting hall, it came through especially clearly. Everyone heard. The look he gave Lucas instantly filled with amusement and mockery. You're lying. Lucas was both anxious and furious. I didn't lie to you. Everything I said is true. Is it true? I walked up to him, grabbed his throat, and lifted him out of his seat. One hand, at 1 meter 80 tall, he feels like a chick in my hand. An ordinary person, where would the strength come from to instantly break free from 2 professional bodyguards' control and barge into my office? An ordinary person, when facing someone like me, a capricious playboy, why from start to finish is there not the slightest fear or nervousness? Lucas, your acting is terrible. Lucas's face turned purple from lack of oxygen. His eyes were filled with terror. He couldn't understand where his disguise had gone wrong. As for this stone, I turned my head to look at Elena in the VIP seats and smiled faintly. Miss Moore, since you like it so much, how about we play a game? No one pays for this stone. Just by skill, whoever can get it gets it. What do you think? A flash of surprise crossed Elena's cool, clear eyes. She stood up, her white robes fluttering like a fairy. All right, one word, crisp and pleasing to the ear. The whole audience went wild. What's going on? Mr. Johnson is going to snatch something on the spot from the mysterious Miss Moore? This is way more exciting than the auction itself. I let go and threw Lucas to the ground. He lay there like a lump of rotten flesh, coughing violently, his eyes full of malice as he looked at me. Ethan, you'll regret this. Regret. I put my foot on his face and pressed down hard, grinding it. This line Leo also said to me. By now, the grass on his grave should be about 3 feet high. Don't worry, yours will have the same soon. I ignored him, turned, and walked toward the display stand. Elena also came from the other side, walking toward the display table. The two of us stood 3 meters apart in front of the table, facing each other from a distance. The air in the entire hall seemed to freeze. Everyone's breath was suspended. They knew a great show was about to begin. Elena and I faced each other. In the air, it felt as if sparks of electricity were flashing. I knew this woman was not ordinary. There was a faint, yet extremely dangerous aura about her. It was the unique presence of an ancient martial artist. You go first. Elena spoke. Her voice remained cold, but there was a trace of fighting spirit in her eyes. Lady first. I gestured for her to go ahead. Elena was no longer polite. She moved. Her figure flickered, as if she had vanished from a spot. The next second, she was already standing in front of the display stand. A slender, jade-like hand, as quick as lightning, reached for that black stone. So fast, 99% of the people present couldn't make out her movements. But to my eyes, they were crystal clear. What the god-level martial technique gave me wasn't just skill, but dynamic vision far beyond ordinary. At the very moment her fingertip was about to touch the stone, I moved. Strike later, arrive first. My palm, like a shadow, gently came to rest on her wrist. Elena's body jolted violently. For the first time, genuine shock appeared in her starry eyes. She didn't expect that I could match her speed. She was even less expecting that I could so easily intercept her attack. She twisted her wrist, trying to break free. A soft, feminine inner energy traveled along her arm toward me. Wants to invade my body. I smiled. Playing this with me? Inside my body, it's not some internal energy. It's pure strength modified by the system-made gene enhancement serum. Overbearing, arrogant, unreasonable. I tightened my palms slightly. Bang! An invisible wave of chi exploded outward from the two of us as its center. Elena made a muffled sound and staggered back 3 steps before steadying herself. A faint, abnormal flush appeared on the cheek of the woman whose face was covered. She had been injured. In one move, she suffered a covert loss. The whole room fell dead silent. Everyone was dumbfounded. That fairy-like woman actually lost? Lost to Ethan, that legendary playboy? Lucas, lying on the ground, was also stunned. His mouth hung wide open, large enough to fit an egg. Impossible, this can't be. Ethan, how could he be so strong? In his past life memories, Ethan was just a level 5 loser. How could he possibly withstand a move from Elena? The script, once again, was torn to pieces. I didn't look at anyone else. My gaze remained fixed on Elena. Do you want to keep going? Elena looked at me deeply. There was a lot in that look. There was shock, there was unwillingness, but more than that, curiosity. Who are you, really? Just an ordinary merchant passing through. I picked up that black stone and weighed it in my hand. It was cold to the touch and heavy in texture. Nothing special apart from being hard. But I knew a secret lay within. I slipped the stone into my pocket, then reached out my hand toward Elena. Want to be friends? I'm Ethan. Elena looked at the hand I extended and was silent for a moment. Then she also reached out her hand and shook mine. Her hand was very soft and very cool. Elena more. I know. I withdrew my hand and smiled. Thank you for yielding today. Another day, I'll treat you to tea. Having said that, I didn't linger. I turned and, amid a group of stunned, dumbstruck faces, left the auction. When I reached the door, I looked back once. Elena still stood where she was, quietly watching my back, as if lost in thought. As for that reborn man called Lucas, he had already been dragged out by 2 security guards like a dead dog. His eyes were full of hatred and desperation. I knew he wouldn't let it end like this. He will still find ways to come and take revenge on me. I'm waiting. My favorite thing is watching these self-righteous protagonists, time and time again, crash themselves bloody and broken. That feeling is more pleasurable than anything. Back at the villa, I closed the door and immediately took out that black stone. The system interface automatically popped up. Detected ancient cultivator's legacy. Parsing complete. Item name, World Coordinate Recorder disguise. Item effect, a low-grade beacon that records and transmits coordinates in this world. Once powered, it will send a positioning signal to the Destiny Covenant headquarters, guiding them to descend. Note, this thing has nothing to do with cultivation, it's just a GPS on a dog leash. I stared at the system's analysis results, a cold sweat seeping down my back. That was close. If I really believed Lucas's lies, or this thing fell into Elena's hands and she activated it with her inner power, the consequences would be unimaginable. The Mandate Alliance. What Lucas said turned out to be true. There really is a group of protagonists who, like locusts, plunder the myriad worlds. And those so-called opportunities and legacies are the bait they cast. Once someone takes the bait, the entire world is locked onto them and then devoured. Leo, Lucas, they were merely pawns chosen by the Mandate Alliance to go ahead in this world. They were given systems, given golden fingers, so they could stir up trouble in this world and gather luck. When enough luck has been gathered, or when these pawns find the coordinate recorder and activate it, the true reapers will descend. I feel like I've been swept into a huge, extraordinary incident. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully preventing the world coordinates from being exposed, protecting the world's safety, and earning 10,000 villain points. New feature, Eye of Truth activated. Eye of Truth can view the core information of target characters whose level does not exceed the host level. I immediately used the Eye of Truth on the stone in my hand. Target, World Coordinate Recorder, Model T-800. Affiliation, 7th Plunder Squad of the Mandate Alliance. Current status, inactive. Destruction method, inject more than 1,000 units of pure energy. Then, I used the Eye of Truth on myself. Name, Ethan. Identity, World Corrector, Intern. Host of the Supervillain Crushing System. Rank, F, top in this world. Abilities, Divine Level Martial Arts, Gene Enhancement, Basic. Equipment, none. Villain points, 17,100. World Revisor, Internship. This system of mine seems to have quite a background. It's not helping me be the villain. It's training me? Train me to oppose the Destiny Alliance? I think I understand why the system issues those tasks that make me suppress the protagonists and seize their opportunities. Because those protagonists and opportunities are themselves the virus. And I'm the program in charge of killing the virus. Only, this program is a bit violent. I looked at the stone in my hand and fell into thought. Destroy it? Very simple. But if we destroy it, won't the Destiny Alliance stop sending other things? That's treating the symptom, not the root. I thought of a bolder and more interesting plan. I will not destroy it. I will activate it. But not here. I will prepare a big surprise for the guests of the Tenming. 1. A death trap that lets them come but never return. I opened the system shop and began to frantically redeem items. 17,100 villain points. I squandered them all. Redeem Advanced Gene Enhancement Serum. 5,000 points. Redeemed Electromagnetic Control, Basic. 8,000 points. Redeemed High Energy Bomb Blueprint. 3,000 points. Remaining points, 1,100. Waves of immense power surge through my body. My body is being reborn. My brain is being filled with a vast amount of knowledge. I feel that, at this moment, I could even build a Gundam by hand. I picked up the phone and called Emma. Hey, it's me. Do me a favor. At your fastest speed, help me buy an uninhabited island. The more remote, the better. Also, help me arrange a batch of industrial materials. I'll send you the list later. Money is no object. Emma on the other end of the line was surprised, but she didn't ask another question. Okay, leave it to me. This woman was very smart and very dependable. After hanging up, I looked at the moon outside the window and smiled. Mandate Sect? Protagonist Alliance? Sounds like it should be pretty powerful. Let's see whether your protagonist aura is tougher, or if my villain fists are tougher. The hunt has begun. 3 months later, in the depths of the Pacific Ocean, an unnamed deserted island. Here, I had already transformed it into an iron fortress, or rather, a gigantic tomb custom-made for the Destiny Alliance. I stand on the control tower at the center of the island, watching the various data displayed on the screen. Energy shield, activated and functioning normally. Automated defense turrets, all online. 100 meters underground, the big guy I personally made has a steady heartbeat. Everything is ready. I took out that black World Coordinate Recorder. It was time to invite the guest in. I slowly infused my newly acquired ability, electromagnetic control, into it. An invisible signal shot upward, tearing the space and heading into the unknown deep sky. The bait has been cast. Now to see when the fish will bite. I waited for 3 days. On the afternoon of the 3rd day, the sky changed. The clear, cloudless sky suddenly darkened. A massive spatial rift, like an ugly scar, appeared above the island. Powerful energy fluctuations made the entire island tremble. Here we go. A menacingly shaped black warship, full of sci-fi vibe, slowly emerged from the spatial rift. The warship was as large as an aircraft carrier. On it was engraved a blood-red emblem, a sword and a book, Mandate Alliance. On the deck of the warship stood several figures. Leading them was a man clad in golden armor, his face cold and severe. He looked down at the small island below, his eyes full of contempt and greed, as if a deity gazing upon ants. True sight activated. Name, William King. Identity, Captain of the 7th Raid Squad of the Mandate Alliance. Level, D-Class, far beyond this world's limits. Ability, Dragon Emperor Overbearing Body, Divine Fire Control Technique. Equipment, Dragon Slaying Holy Sword. Rank D, 1 level higher than me. Looks like a tough one. But so what? On my home turf, it's a dragon. You still have to serve me. Captain, the coordinates show it's on this island. A team member reported. William nodded. An F-class low-level world, and yet it managed to find a T-800 type beacon. Interesting. Everyone be on guard. Go down and take a look. Remember, aside from that native who activated the beacon, the rest, wipe them all out. His voice was cold, without a trace of feeling, as if he were talking about crushing a few ants. A few figures leapt down from the warship. They landed steadily on the island's beach. 7 people in total. They must be the so-called 7 heavenly kings Lucas mentioned. I used the control tower's broadcasting system to send them a friendly greeting. Welcome, everyone, to my hunting grounds. My voice echoed across the entire island sky. William and the others' faces changed. They didn't expect that there would actually be an ambush on this island. Who goes there? Come out, shouted a hot-tempered team member. Boom, boom, boom. The response to him was dozens of automated defense turrets rising from the ground, spouting tongues of deadly fire. Dense beams of energy formed a vast net, spreading over them. You're asking for it. William snorted coldly, a golden light blazing from his body. An invisible shield enveloped the 7 of them. The energy beams striking it only stirred a ripple. Petty tricks, William said disdainfully. Just a warm-up exercise. My voice sounded again. Now, the second appetizer, please enjoy. I pressed a red button on the console. The ground of the entire island began to shake violently. A gigantic electromagnetic tower, made of countless metals and cables, slowly rose from the center of the island. A powerful electromagnetic pulse was released in an instant. ZZZ. The golden shields on William and the others flickered violently for a few moments, then, with a bang, shattered. Even the black warship in the sky was affected. The lights on its hull dimmed and brightened as if it might fall at any moment. Electromagnetic technology? A grave expression finally appeared on William's face. How could such a low-level world have something like this? He sensed that something was wrong. This is not an ordinary F-level world. This is a trap. Trying to run? I smiled. Too late. The Last Supper has been prepared for you. I pressed the final button. The whole world went quiet. 100 meters beneath the island. The World Scavenger, which I had activated using all my villain points and by fusing modern technology with the system's black tech, came online. A terrifying aura that made even the soul tremble erupted from underground. William, this daring powerhouse, felt the threat of death for the first time. His face was full of fear and disbelief. No, this is impossible. He wanted to flee, to return to the warship. But it was too late. A blinding white light, indescribably dazzling, burst forth from the center of the island. It devoured the beach, devoured the electromagnetic tower, devoured William, devoured those 7 so-called kings, devoured the black battleship in the sky. In the end, it devoured the entire island. A colossal mushroom cloud slowly rose above the sea. A tsunami swept across a 100-mile radius, and a few hundred kilometers away, inside a small submarine. I looked at the spectacular scene displayed on the screen and took a sip of coffee. Comfortable. Ding. Congratulations, host. You have successfully annihilated the 7th Plunder Squad of the Destiny League. Overall rating, perfect. Rewards obtained, 50,000 villain points. System upgrade. World Corrector privileges increased. Probation converted to permanent. New world coordinates have been sent. Host, please be ready at any time to proceed to the next epicenter for cleanup operations. I closed the system interface and stretched. Being a villain, no, being the world's cleaner, actually feels pretty good. I just don't know what kind of surprises the protagonist of the next world will bring me. I'm really looking forward to it. George, I've got good news and bad news. Which do you want to hear first? I put down my paintbrush and looked at my friend Frank. He stood at the studio door with a mysterious air, his face a mix of nervousness and excitement. Let's start with the bad news. After all, I've gotten used to it these past 3 years. Your painting, Eternity, just sold for a sky-high price. Over $6 million. I frowned. How is that bad news? Frank chuckled. Because it's actually part of the good news. The bad news is, buddy, you might need to see a psychiatrist. What do you mean? A woman who looks exactly like Mary showed up at your art exhibition. I almost thought I was seeing a ghost. The paintbrush slipped from my hand and fell to the floor, splattering paint across the unfinished canvas. Mary, my late wife, died 3 years ago after accidentally falling off a cliff. I watched with my own eyes as her body was pulled from the water. In that moment, my world completely collapsed. Stop joking around, Frank. Why would I lie to you? She even left this. Frank handed me a note, with an address and a time written on it. My hand trembled slightly. The handwriting was exactly the same as Mary's. That night, I waited until midnight at the designated cafe. Just as I was about to leave, a familiar figure appeared at the door. Mary? No, it couldn't be her. But every gesture of that woman, from the tips of her hair to her fingertips, was a shadow of Mary. George, it's been a long time. She sat across from me, and the familiar voice nearly made my heart stop. Who are you? I struggled to remain calm. I'm Mary, your wife. She smiled and reached out her hand. There was a scar on her palm, the mark Mary got when she accidentally cut herself on glass at 15. Impossible. Mary is already dead. She laughed softly. That was just an accident. I fell off the cliff and was saved by a reclusive old doctor. I lost my memory from the injuries and only recently remembered everything. As she spoke, tears began to fall with an expression I knew all too well, the look Mary wore whenever she felt wronged. I know it's hard to believe, but I really am Mary. I couldn't believe my eyes. The shade of lipstick Mary loved most, the faint little mole beneath her left ear, the unconscious habit of rubbing her ring while speaking. Everything was so familiar. Are you really Mary? She nodded and took a small box out of her bag. This is the proof. Inside the box was the first piece of jewelry Mary ever designed. A sapphire ring, the only one of its kind, never mass-produced. I brought it with me that day because I wanted to surprise you. I suddenly stood up and pulled her into my arms. 3 years of longing surged over me like a tide. I held her tightly, afraid that if I let go, she would disappear again. On the way home, she told me about her experiences over the past 3 years. She was rescued by an old doctor in the mountains, lost her memory due to a severe head injury, and lived in a remote mountain village for more than 2 years. It wasn't until she happened to see a poster for my art exhibition that her memory gradually returned. The next day, I took her to see Frank. Oh my God, it really is you, Mary. Frank stared in astonishment, eyes wide. Frank, it's been a long time. She greeted him with a smile, exactly as I remembered. Frank pulled me aside and whispered, Man, this is unbelievable, but I really believe it's her. Who else but Mary could call me by my childhood nickname so accurately? That was something only the two of you knew. A week later, Mary officially returned. We held a small welcome party for her. Her mother was so overwhelmed that she fainted, and when she woke up, she clung to her daughter and refused to let go. But that night, I noticed the first sign that something was off. Mary never ate mangoes because she was severely allergic. Yet the returned Mary absent-mindedly tasted a mango dessert and was perfectly fine. Aren't you allergic to mangoes? I asked. She paused for a moment, then quickly laughed and said, Oh, that old Chinese doctor cured my allergy. He's really amazing. I nodded, but in my heart, I marked the first question mark. Is this really my wife? A month passed quickly, and Mary blended perfectly into our lives. She knew the location of every item in the house, remembered our shared memories, and could even accurately name friends we hadn't contacted in years. But those subtle feelings of discord kept growing. For example, the real Mary liked to listen to classical music, especially Debussy, while designing jewelry. But she would always unconsciously hum along to pop songs. Mary always habitually used her left hand to hold chopsticks, even though she knew it was wrong. She just couldn't change. But she was a standard right-handed user. The most obvious difference appeared that night when I accidentally caught her smoking in the bedroom. The real Mary hated the smell of smoke, Even when I came home from social events with a faint scent of cigarettes, she would frown. When did you start smoking? I stood at the doorway, my voice soft. She was clearly startled, hastily snuffing out the cigarette. This is a herbal cigarette for treating insomnia, prescribed by an old Chinese doctor. I nodded, not pressing further, but the doubts in my heart only grew deeper. The next day, I went to find Frank. Help me check if, in the past 3 years, plastic surgery technology has advanced enough to achieve this level. Frank's eyes widened. You mean, she's not Mary? I'm not sure, but there are always some things that don't add up. 2 days later, Frank brought news. High-end plastic surgery can make faces look similar, but it can't replicate the exact placement of scars or moles. And there's a limit to how well someone can imitate a voice. What if it was a twin? Frank shook his head. Mary is an only child. We all know that. I decided not to show my feelings for now and to keep observing. A week later, Mary's mother came to my house with astonishing news. George, Mary is going to have a baby, my mother-in-law told me excitedly. I stood there stunned. Before we got married, Mary had been diagnosed with uterine hypoplasia. The doctor had made it clear she could never get pregnant. This was our shared secret. Not even my mother-in-law knew. How do you know that? I managed to ask. Mary told me this morning. She said she already had a checkup. It's been 2 months. My mother-in-law happily grabbed my hand. It's a blessing from above. Mary survived death, and now she can bring us new life. My heart sank to the bottom. This absolutely could not be Mary. That night, I dug out the hospital's diagnosis certificate in my study, which clearly stated the condition of Mary's uterus. But when I wanted to talk to Mary about it, I found her in the bedroom, excitedly discussing the decoration of the nursery with my mother-in-law. Mary, could you come here for a moment? I called her calmly. She followed me into the study, still wearing a blissful smile on her face. Did you forget about this? I handed her the diagnosis certificate. She took it and glanced at it, her face instantly turning pale. George, I can explain. Explain what? Explain that you're not Mary at all. Mother-in-law heard the commotion and walked in. What's going on with you two? Mom, take a look at this. I handed her the proof. My mother-in-law read it, then looked at Mary in astonishment. What's going on? Mary, you can't have children. Of course she can, I sneered, because she's not Mary at all. My mother-in-law's face changed dramatically. What nonsense are you talking about? I can explain. She hurriedly grabbed my mother-in-law's hand. That old Chinese doctor not only saved my life, but also cured my uterine problem. It's a miracle, truly. My mother-in-law looked at me, then at her, hesitating. George, you're being too paranoid. My mother-in-law finally took her daughter's side. Mary has come back with great difficulty. You should cherish her, not doubt her. Yes, George, I know this is hard to accept, but miracles do happen. Tears welled up in her eyes. Haven't we always wanted a child? Now we can finally have our own baby. I looked at her face, identical to Mary's, yet I became more certain in my heart. This woman was not my wife. All right, I believe you. I smiled, deciding to go along with their story for now. Let's wait together for this miracle to happen. That night, I secretly contacted a private detective. My mother-in-law gladly accepted her daughter's explanation, even suggesting she move in with us to take care of Mary during her pregnancy. Outwardly, I agreed, but inside I grew even more wary. This was no coincidence. There had to be some kind of plot. Mom, haven't you always lived in Haicheng? Won't it be hard to get used to living here? I probed cautiously. For my grandson, I'm willing to endure any inconvenience, my mother-in-law said firmly. I noticed a fleeting unnatural expression on Mary's face. Could the truth be connected to my mother-in-law? On the 3rd day after my mother-in-law moved in, I discovered more suspicious details. For example, the real Mary never drank coffee, but she and my mother-in-law often enjoyed it together. Also, Mary's favorite movie was Roman Holiday, but she claimed to prefer Titanic. The strangest thing is, Mary used to despise her cousin Tom when she was alive, but now he visits frequently and chats and laughs with Mary as if they're old friends. I told Frank about these discoveries. Buddy, things are getting more and more suspicious, Frank frowned. Are you sure you want to keep going like this? Why not just expose her directly? It's not the right time yet. I want to find out what they're really after. The private detective's investigation also made progress. The so-called old Chinese doctor who had saved Mary did not exist at all, and Mary's whereabouts over the past 3 years were completely untraceable. More importantly, the private detective uncovered a shocking fact during the investigation. Mary's cousin Tom was deeply in debt from gambling, and the painting Eternity under my name, worth over $6 million, was his only hope for quick cash. "They're after your painting," the private detective asserted, "and this fake Mary is likely a professional identity fraudster, hired to win your trust." I took a deep breath and decided to take the initiative. That afternoon, I pretended to go out, but secretly returned home and hid in the study. Sure enough, Mary and her cousin Tom were whispering to each other in the living room. "It's taking too long," Tom said irritably. "How much longer until he sells the painting?" "Don't worry," she soothed him. "I'm already pregnant, and now he completely believes I'm Mary. In a little while, I'll say I want to move to a better neighborhood for the sake of the baby, and then we'll naturally need to sell the painting to raise money." "You're really pregnant?" "That wasn't part of the plan. It was an accident, but it works to our advantage. George wants a child so badly." "Does Annie know the truth?" "She only knows we're trying to scam money, not the specific plan. But she hates George, thinks he caused her daughter's death, so she's more than happy to help." I clenched my fists. So my mother-in-law had always believed that Mary's accident was somehow my fault. In fact, we did argue over something trivial that day, and Mary stormed out in anger. I didn't try to stop her. But I never imagined it would be the last time I'd see her. "You don't actually have feelings for George, do you?" Tom suddenly asked. She was silent for a moment. "It's just part of the job. Besides, I owe you, and I won't go back on my word." "Good then. Don't forget how we're splitting the money once we get it." Their conversation confirmed my suspicions. This was all an elaborate scheme, with my eternity as the target. In the days that followed, I pretended everything was normal while secretly making preparations. I contacted the police, arranged for evidence-gathering equipment, and found the last piece Mary had left before she died, a silver necklace that had never been made public, engraved with an anniversary date only the two of us knew. 2 weeks later, my art exhibition was held as scheduled. As planned, Mary brought up the idea of moving, hinting that I could sell Eternity. I pretended to agree and said I would auction the painting on the last day of the exhibition. "This is a surprise I prepared for you," I said on the eve of the exhibition, taking out a delicate box. "To celebrate the new life we're about to begin." She opened the box in surprise, and inside was the silver necklace. "It's beautiful, thank you." She smiled as she prepared to put it on. "Wait," I stopped her. "Aren't you going to look at the engraving on the back?" She turned the necklace over, and her face suddenly went pale. "What's wrong? Don't you like it?" I asked, feigning ignorance. "No, I really like it. It's just, I'm a bit moved." She forced a smile, but didn't know how to explain that she couldn't recognize the significance of that date. "See you tomorrow. Get some good rest, and don't forget to wear this necklace." I kissed her forehead and whispered in her ear, "After all, this is your final design." Her body visibly stiffened for a moment, but she kept smiling. "Of course, I cherish it very much. Tomorrow, the truth will come to light." On the day of the exhibition, the place was packed with people. My painting, Eternity, was displayed in the most prominent spot, right next to the last batch of jewelry designs Mary had created before her death. Mary held my arm, flawlessly playing the role of my wife as always. She had even gone out of her way to wear Mary's favorite white dress and the silver necklace I had given her last night. My mother-in-law and Tom were there too. The three of them exchanged glances from time to time, clearly waiting for the perfect moment. Frank appeared as planned, pretending to be extremely interested in Eternity and asking me about the auction details. "The auction will begin promptly at 4 in the afternoon," I replied with a smile. "This painting means a great deal to me, and I hope it finds someone who truly appreciates it." Mary immediately chimed in. "Yes, although it's hard to part with it, this is a necessary decision for our future." I noticed she glanced at Tom, who gave a barely perceptible nod. At 3:30 in the afternoon, the projector in the center of the exhibition hall lit up. This was the special segment I had arranged. "Ladies and gentlemen, I stood in front of Eternity. Before the auction begins, I'd like to share a little story about this painting." Mary's photo appeared on the projection screen, a group picture from her last birthday party before she passed away. 3 years ago, my wife Mary died in an accident. I created this painting, Eternity, in her memory. The woman in the painting has her back to the viewer, forever gazing into the distance, symbolizing a longing I can never reach. A soft sigh rippled through the crowd. Mary stood beside me, matching my words with a sorrowful expression. However, a month ago, a miracle happened. I turned to look at Mary. My wife came back. The whole room erupted in astonishment, and many people curiously sized up, Mary. This is my wife, Mary. I took her hand and stepped forward. Back from the dead, it's truly the greatest blessing heaven could have given me. She smiled and nodded to everyone, while my mother-in-law and Tom stood by with smug expressions. However, my tone suddenly shifted. Amidst my joy, a question arose. Is she really Mary? The entire room fell silent. Mary's hand trembled slightly in my palm. So, I did some investigating. The projector switched to a set of comparison photos. On the left was the real Mary. On the right was a photo of her. They look exactly the same, don't they? But I clicked the remote, and the photo was enlarged, the details highlighted. The position of the piercing on the left ear was slightly different, the arch of the eyebrows subtly varied, and the fine lines at the corners of the eyes ran in different directions. These are details that even professional plastic surgery cannot fully replicate. Mary tried to pull her hand away, but I held on tightly. My mother-in-law and Tom also began to grow anxious, glancing toward the exit. More importantly, the real Mary has a feature that cannot be copied. I turned to Mary. The necklace I gave you last night has a date engraved on the back. Can you tell everyone what that date is? She opened her mouth, but no words came out. That was the due date of our first child, the one we lost. I spoke softly, my voice trembling with emotion. Mary designed this necklace to commemorate the baby we never got to meet. The date was our secret, only Mary and I knew. The room fell utterly silent. Mary turned deathly pale, my mother-in-law's eyes widened, and Tom had already started edging toward the door. What surprised me even more, I continued, was that the real Mary could never get pregnant due to an underdeveloped uterus. Yet this, Mary claims she's already 2 months along. I let go of her hand and took a step back. So, who are you really? A flicker of despair flashed in Mary's eyes, but she quickly regained her composure. I am Mary, it's just that old Chinese doctor. The non-existent old Chinese doctor, right? I sneered. Just like the non-existent amnesia, the non-existent miraculous recovery. I turned toward the projection screen. Let's see the truth. The screen played the secretly recorded video of her conversation with Tom, their discussion on how to swindle eternity, clearly audible. This isn't. She tried to explain, but my mother-in-law had already rushed forward. Who are you really? My mother-in-law screamed. You're not my daughter? Auntie, stop pretending, I said calmly. You know she's not Mary. You just wanted to get back at me, didn't you? My mother-in-law's face turned pale. I didn't know she was going to impersonate Mary. Tom just said he needed help to scam some money. Police. Don't move. Several plainclothes officers emerged from the crowd, blocking Tom as he tried to escape. Amid the chaos, Mary took the opportunity to shove me aside and run toward the exit. I chased after her and caught up in the parking lot. Tell me, who are you really? She finally stopped, turned to face me, tears welling in her eyes. My name is Luna. I'm an actress. Tom found me and said if I helped trick you out of a painting, he'd give me $1 million. I needed the money for my sister's medical treatment. Why did they choose me? Why Mary? She shook her head. I don't know. They gave me a lot of information, photos, videos, even your chat logs. I was just following the script. The police arrived and took her away. I stood where I was, gazing at the distant sky, my heart a tumult of emotions. Back in the exhibition hall, the crowd had already dispersed, leaving only Frank and a few police officers. It's all been cleared up, Frank walked over. Tom owed money to loan sharks and was desperate. Your mother-in-law always resented you for not saving Mary, so she helped them plan the whole thing. I walked up to eternity, gently caressing the back of the woman in the painting. Mary, I can finally give you an answer. The police left with the evidence. Frank patted me on the shoulder. What do you plan to do next? I took a deep breath. Prepare for the final painting. What will it be called? The Pursuit, I said softly. This time, I'll paint her face, not just her back. After the case was solved, my life seemed to return to where it was 3 years ago. Eternity was temporarily held by the court as crucial evidence. Tom and Luna were arrested for fraud, and my mother-in-law was investigated as an accomplice. The prosecution wants you to testify in court, the officer called to inform me. The trial is scheduled for early next month. I agreed, though I was utterly exhausted inside. After exposing the deception, I thought I would feel the thrill of revenge, but what I felt instead was a profound emptiness. Those days spent with Mary that month had allowed me to feel a trace of warmth in life again, even if that warmth was born of lies. Frank often came to see me, worried I might fall into despair once more. I told him not to worry, that I was working on a new piece, The Pursuit. Are you really going to paint Mary's face from the front? Frank asked curiously. For the past 3 years, you've always refused to do that. It's time, I replied. We can't live in the past forever. I moved out of the apartment I had shared with Mary and returned to the old house in the suburbs, the place where the real Mary and I had first made our home. The dust-laden memories in the house brought me both pain and comfort. Mary's studio remained just as she had left it, design sketches scattered across the table, unfinished jewelry drafts pinned to the drawing board. One afternoon, while sorting through Mary's belongings, I discovered an encrypted external hard drive. After several attempts, I finally unlocked it using our wedding anniversary as the password. Inside were backups of Mary's design works, along with some personal photos and videos. One folder in particular caught my attention. Inside a folder named Plan was a series of jewelry design sketches, labeled George's Birthday Special Project. It was then I remembered that, in the months before Mary passed away, she often spoke mysteriously about giving me an unparalleled birthday surprise. Leafing through these design drafts, I couldn't help but be moved to tears. Mary had planned to design a jewelry collection inspired by my paintings over the years, with each piece corresponding to a representative work from my artistic career. The last page was a sketch of a ring, with a dark red stone set in the center, its edges adorned with tiny diamonds, closely resembling the sunrise in my early work, Dawn. This is blood amber? I examined the notes carefully, confirming the name of this rare gemstone. Mary's designs had always been bold, but blood amber is extremely rare in the Chinese market, almost impossible to acquire. How did she obtain such a material? As I continued searching, I found a series of email correspondence screenshots. Mary had actually contacted a gemstone dealer in Myanmar, commissioning the blood amber specifically for this ring. The last email showed that the gem had already been shipped, but the date was exactly 1 week before Mary's death. I immediately called Frank. Help me check if there was a package sent from Myanmar 3 years ago, addressed to Mary. 2 days later, Frank brought news. The package did exist, but since no one signed for it, it was returned. However, according to the shipping records, it was resent a month ago, this time addressed to you. What? I was completely confused. I haven't received any package. Check your old apartment? Frank suggested. Back at my old apartment, the manager told me there was indeed a package, but it had been signed for by Mary. She said it was a surprise for you, so she didn't notify you, the manager explained. This meant Luna had taken the blood amber. I rushed to the detention center and requested to see Luna. Separated by glass, she looked much more haggard than the last time we met, but still wore that face so similar to Mary's. What are you doing here? She asked coldly. A month ago, you signed for a package from Myanmar. There was a blood amber inside. I want to know where it is. She looked surprised. How did you know? Tom asked me to sign for it. He said it was some precious gem. He took it. My heart sank. Tom was deep in gambling debt. A precious blood amber would be a windfall for him. He had probably sold it long ago. That blood amber is very important to me, I said softly. It was the last gift my wife left me. Luna was silent for a moment, then suddenly said, maybe it's not that bad. Tom said the stone has flaws, its value is greatly reduced, and he hasn't found a suitable buyer yet. Hope was rekindled. If Tom hadn't sold the blood amber yet, maybe there was still a chance to get it back. Do you know where he might hide it? Luna hesitated for a moment. He has a safe deposit box in a self-storage facility on the east side of the city. After getting the address, I immediately contacted the officer in charge of the case and explained the situation. Since Tom was involved in a large sum of money, the police quickly approved the search request. Mr. George, we've found the safe deposit box, the officer said over the phone. Inside, we did find the blood amber you described, as well as some other evidence. A few hours later, I retrieved the blood amber at the police station. It was even more beautiful than I had imagined. Within the dark red core, wisps of mist seemed to swirl, shifting strangely under the light. This was the birthday gift Mary had so carefully chosen for me, waiting for 3 years. Back home, I carefully placed the blood amber beside the canvas of the pursuit. The painting was already more than half finished, Mary's face emerging from the blur into clarity, yet it still felt like something was missing. Watching the blood amber glimmer faintly under the light, I suddenly understood how I should complete the painting. The creation of the pursuit entered its final stage. I decided to break convention and incorporate the blood amber into the artwork. This would not only be a portrait, but a hybrid piece that fused painting with the art of jewelry. Are you sure you want to do this? Frank frowned. That blood amber is priceless. That's exactly why, I said firmly. Mary chose it for me. She wanted to inspire an unparalleled masterpiece. I will fulfill her wish. For 2 whole weeks, I worked day and night, neglecting sleep and food. I cut the blood amber into thin slices and inlaid them at the spot of Mary's eyes on the canvas, making her gaze truly come alive. I used a special technique to blend the surrounding paint, creating a harmonious transition with the gemstone. From certain angles, the entire painting seemed to be imbued with life, and Mary's expression would shift depending on where the viewer stood. On the day I finished the piece, Frank brought news. Luna had been sentenced to 3 years in prison, but due to her good attitude in confessing, she might serve only 1.5 years. Tom, involved in multiple fraud cases, was sentenced to 7 years. My mother-in-law, as an accomplice, received a suspended sentence. The case is finally over, Frank said. Are you planning to exhibit your painting? Yes. Next month there will be a solo exhibition at the National Art Museum, and The Pursuit will be the grand finale. The curator couldn't stop praising this piece, believing it represents the innovative direction of contemporary art and marks the pinnacle of my career. Indeed, this painting, which incorporates Mary's jewelry design concepts, is in some sense a creation we made together. On the eve of the exhibition, I checked the arrangement in the gallery alone one last time, making sure every piece was perfectly lit and positioned. When I reached The Pursuit, I couldn't help but stop and gaze at it. Mary's face was vividly lifelike, her eyes inlaid with blood amber gleaming under the spotlight, as if she were smiling at me. For the first time in 3 years, I faced her directly, no longer painting only her back. Mr. George, a stranger's voice called from behind. Sorry to disturb you, but the gallery has been cleared. He turned around to see a young woman dressed in the museum's staff uniform. And you are? I'm the new curator, responsible for security in your exhibition area, she explained with a smile. I really like your work, especially this piece, The Pursuit. Thank you. I nodded. I'll be leaving soon. She didn't leave, but continued to gaze at the painting. That red gem is beautiful, almost as if it's alive. It's blood amber, I explained, a very rare gemstone. I know, she said softly, top-grade blood amber from Myanmar, containing plant fossils, extremely rare. I looked at her in surprise. You know a lot about jewelry? She smiled. I study jewelry design. I'm just working part-time here. For some reason, Mary suddenly came to mind. She, too, had an almost obsessive passion for and expertise in gemstones. If you don't mind me asking, who is the woman in this painting? She asked. My wife, I replied. She passed away 3 years ago. She was a jewelry designer. I'm very sorry, she said sincerely, then gestured toward the blood amber. This gem must mean a great deal to you. It was the last birthday gift she chose for me before she died, but I only found it recently. She nodded thoughtfully. Setting it into her portrait is the best way to remember her. For some reason, talking with this unfamiliar woman brought me a strange sense of calm. Perhaps it was her love for jewelry that reminded me of Mary. Sorry, I have to continue my rounds. She glanced at her watch. See you tomorrow, Mr. George. See you tomorrow, I replied, watching her leave. On the way home, I felt an unusual peace. The completion of The Pursuit seemed to mark the end of my search for Mary as well. Not forgetting, but remembering her forever in another way. The next day, the exhibition's opening ceremony attracted numerous figures from the art world and the media. The Pursuit undoubtedly became the center of attention, with people marveling at this innovative form of artistic expression. Amid the crowd, I noticed that curator standing aside, watching as well. Sunlight streamed through the skylight of the gallery, falling upon her, and for a fleeting moment, I thought I saw Mary's shadow. No, I shook my head, warning myself not to be deceived by mere resemblance. There would never be another Mary in this world, just as there would never be another unique blood amber. After the exhibition, the pursuit was purchased by an anonymous collector for an astronomical price. I donated all the proceeds to a foundation supporting students in jewelry design, establishing a scholarship in Mary's name. Life slowly moved forward, and I began to accept new commissions and create new works. Occasionally, I would think of that curator with a unique insight into jewelry, wondering if she was still working at the art museum. Until one day, I received an email from HL. There were no words, only an image. A sketch of a ring design, the style strikingly similar to Mary's unfinished series. My heart raced as I replied immediately. Who is this? The response came quickly. Yesterday, you brushed past me by the cafe on the street corner, but you didn't recognize me. If you want to know more, wait for me at the museum entrance at noon tomorrow. Is it that librarian? How could she have a design so reminiscent of Mary's style? Filled with anxiety and anticipation, I decided to accept the invitation and find out for myself. The next day at noon, I arrived at the art museum half an hour early. The sun was shining, and small groups of visitors were coming and going from the exhibition hall, but there was no sign of the mysterious person. Just as I began to suspect this might be some kind of prank, a faint trace of perfume drifted by, a scent unfamiliar to me, yet it inexplicably reminded me of Mary. Mr. George, thank you for coming. The voice behind me made me turn around. It was the curator. Today, she wasn't wearing her uniform, but a simple white dress, completely different from Mary's style when she was alive. Did you send the email? I asked directly. She nodded. There are some things I want to tell you, but not here. Will you come with me? We walked through the small park beside the art museum and arrived at a secluded cafe. The whole time, I kept observing her. Her mannerisms, the way she walked, none of it resembled Mary. Yet her sensitivity to detail and her focused attention gave me a strange sense of familiarity. Who are you, really? The moment we sat down, I couldn't wait to ask. My name is Nicole. She looked me straight in the eye. I'm Mary's student. This answer caught me off guard. Mary had indeed taught jewelry design part-time at the Design Academy before she passed away, but she had never mentioned having any particularly close students. I took her advanced design class the year before she passed, Nicole explained. Her guidance benefited me for a lifetime. That still doesn't explain why your designs resemble her style so much, I said, half convinced. Nicole took a folder out of her bag. These are all notes from Ms. Nicole's class and her feedback on my work. You can look at the handwriting and confirm that it's really hers. I carefully examined the materials. It was indeed Mary's handwriting. There were even traces of the pale purple ink she habitually used. Before Ms. Nicole passed away, she was guiding me on my graduation project, Nicole continued. The theme was interwoven light and shadow, blending Eastern and Western aesthetic elements. She gave me a lot of valuable advice, and even showed me a sketch from a private project she was working on at the time. George's special birthday project? I blurted out. Nicole's eyes widened in surprise. You know about it? I only found out recently. I briefly explained the origin of the blood amber. I knew that blood amber would eventually find its way back to you, Nicole said with a smile. Nicole always said it was a destined gift. Is that why you contacted me? Because you saw the blood amber? Nicole was silent for a moment, as if choosing her words carefully. Not entirely. After Nicole passed away, I've been trying to carry on the design philosophy she taught me. Some time ago, I happened to see the news about your eternity being stolen, and then I saw someone impersonating Nicole. I thought I should tell you a few things. She took a letter out of her bag. This is the last letter Nicole gave me after class before she passed away. She said if her surprise plan went smoothly, I should show you this letter. If anything went wrong and she was gone, I should still make sure you see it. I took the envelope. It was indeed Mary's handwriting, and it read, "To my dearest husband." The envelope had already been opened. I didn't know what was in the letter at the time. I just kept it as Nicole instructed, Nicole explained. It wasn't until I saw the news that I opened it. I hope you won't blame me. I carefully took out the letter paper and unfolded it to read. Dear George, if you are reading this letter, perhaps my surprise plan has gone awry. Don't worry, it's just that the plan has changed, and the form of the gift may be different now. The blood amber I picked for you is said to be known as the Eye of Rebirth. Legend has it that looking at the world through it reveals truths that are often overlooked. I hope it can become a turning point in your artistic career, leading you to see new possibilities. All these years, your paintings have always depicted backs, as if you're afraid to face something head-on. I hope this gemstone will give you the courage to paint the front, to capture true emotions. No matter what happens, please remember, love does not disappear, it merely changes form, like this blood amber, which, after millions of years, transforms from resin into a gem, yet still shines. Forever loving you, Mary. The handwriting became a bit messy at the end, as if written in a hurry. I stroked the paper, as if I could feel Mary's emotions at that moment. Thank you, I said, my voice choked with emotion. This means a lot to me. You're welcome. I'm just fulfilling Ms. Nicole's request, Nicole said with a smile. Actually, there's one more thing I'd like to ask your help with. What is it? I'd like to apply for the Mary Scholarship you established, she said, taking a design portfolio out of her bag. This is my graduation project, combining Ms. Nicole's ideas with my own innovations. As I flipped through the portfolio, I was surprised to find that while these designs bore traces of Mary's influence, they also possessed a unique style and innovative touches. In particular, a series called Metamorphosis cleverly combined jewelry with transformable elements, allowing the pieces to change form according to the wearer's mood and occasion. This is outstanding, I praised sincerely. Mary would be proud of you. A hint of joy flashed in Nicole's eyes. Really? I've always worried I couldn't live up to her expectations. You've already moved beyond the learning stage and developed your own style. That's exactly what she hoped to see. As we talked, sunlight streamed through the window and fell on Nicole. In that moment, I seemed to understand something. When Mary spoke of love changing its form, perhaps she wasn't just referring to the blood amber, but also to her passion for art and its legacy. Luna tried to impersonate Mary by mimicking her appearance, but she could never truly replicate who she was. Nicole, on the other hand, looked nothing like Mary, yet she inherited a part of her artistic vision and spirit. Perhaps this is the true gift Mary left me, not the blood amber, but a new possibility, a path out of the past. Nicole's graduation exhibition was held in a small gallery. Though the space was modest, it was exquisitely arranged. Her works were divided into 3 series, representing the past, the present, and the future, forming a complete narrative. This is a brilliant idea, I sincerely praised. From tradition to contemporary and then to the future, it showcases the evolution and possibilities of jewelry design. Nicole smiled and nodded. This was inspired by teacher Nicole. She always says that good design should look back at history, be grounded in the present, and look forward to the future. As I walked through the exhibition hall, I noticed a special display case in the corner, containing only one piece, a seemingly simple ring with a small red gemstone set in the center. This is. I leaned in to read the label, which said, in memory, dedicated to teacher Mary. Yes, I made it from a small piece of blood amber I bought with my own savings, Nicole explained. It can't compare to the quality of yours, but it's also from Myanmar. I examined the design of the ring closely. Clean, powerful lines, with fine silver threads encircling the blood amber, as if protecting the central gem, yet also seeming to radiate light outward. This is very similar to Mary's final design style, I said softly, but it also has your own unique touch. I wanted to create a piece that could both commemorate teacher Nicole and showcase my own style, Nicole explained. The blood amber represents her influence, while the outer design is the direction of my own development. The exhibition attracted quite a few industry insiders, including some well-known figures from the jewelry design world. After viewing the exhibition, an older female designer approached Nicole and offered her an internship opportunity. I stood by, genuinely happy for Nicole. In the evening, as the exhibition was drawing to a close, Frank arrived as well. Seeing me with Nicole, he gave me a knowing smile. New friend? He asked me quietly. Mary's student, I explained simply. Very talented. Frank nodded without asking further questions. After touring the exhibition, he gave high praise to Nicole's work. It blends traditional and modern elements, demonstrating both technical skill and artistic expression, quite rare. Nicole thanked him politely. This wouldn't have been possible without the guidance of teacher Nicole and teacher George. After the exhibition, the 3 of us went to a nearby restaurant for dinner. During the meal, Frank talked about recent trends in the art market, while Nicole shared her insights on contemporary jewelry design. The conversation was light and pleasant, and I realized it had been a long time since I had relaxed and chatted with others like this. After a few rounds of drinks, Frank received an urgent call and left early. Only Nicole and I remained in the restaurant, and the atmosphere suddenly became a bit quiet. Mr. George, Nicole hesitated for a moment before speaking. I've always had a question I wanted to ask you. What is it? After you finished the pursuit, what are you planning to create next? The question caught me off guard. To be honest, ever since the pursuit, I haven't had any new inspiration. That painting seemed to have drained all my emotions and creativity. I haven't decided yet, I answered honestly. It might take some time to find a new direction. Nicole nodded thoughtfully. Nicole once said that the hardest thing for an artist isn't creating a stunning masterpiece, but finding a way forward after reaching the peak. She really did say that, I recalled with a smile. Mary always saw further than I did. Maybe, Nicole said softly, you could try a new direction that combines your work with jewelry design? Like in The Pursuit, but taking it even further. I recalled what Mary mentioned in her letter about seeing new possibilities, and suddenly I was inspired. You mean, creating a series of works that combine painting and jewelry? Exactly. Nicole said excitedly, your paintings create emotion in two-dimensional space, while jewelry gives it tangible form in the three-dimensional world. The combination of the two would have an astonishing effect. The more we talked, the more engaged we became, even sketching a few concept designs on the restaurant's napkins. Nicole's ideas were fresh and bold, perfectly aligning with my artistic vision, yet bringing a new perspective. As we left the restaurant, Nicole suddenly said, I have to confess something. I looked at her in confusion. I reached out to you not only to deliver Nicole's letter, but also for a personal reason. I hope to learn from you, she said candidly. I want to become a designer like Nicole, someone who not only creates beautiful works but also perfectly blends art with emotion. Her sincerity moved me. You're already on that path, and you're doing very well. Then, may I consult you often? She asked a little nervously. Of course, I'd be delighted. On the way home, a series of new works already began to take shape in my mind. A cross-disciplinary art that fuses painting and jewelry, both as a tribute to Mary and as a new starting point in my artistic career. That night, I had a dream. In the dream, Mary stood in a halo of blood-red light, smiling at me and saying, see, I knew you would find a new direction. When I woke up, I got out of bed immediately and began sketching for the new series. I decided to name it Rebirth. Not only representing the ancient life forever preserved in blood amber, but also symbolizing the rebirth of my artistic career, as well as the inheritance and development of Mary's artistic vision. A week later, I submitted a new series proposal to the gallery and received an enthusiastic response. The curator even suggested holding a special exhibition themed Between Dimensions, a dialogue between painting and jewelry. For this project, I invited Nicole to join the team as a jewelry design consultant. She had just graduated from design school and was both excited and nervous about the opportunity. Am I really up to the task? She asked me in the studio. You understand Mary's design philosophy better than anyone, I assured her. That's exactly what I need. In the days that followed, we worked at a feverish pace. We created during the day and discussed at night, sometimes even working through until dawn. Nicole's ideas flowed endlessly, and I transformed those thoughts into concrete artistic expressions. In the process, I rediscovered the pure joy of creation that I hadn't felt in a long time. One late night, when we finally finished the design for our first piece, Nicole clapped her hands excitedly. This is amazing. Teacher Nicole will definitely love it. At the mention of Mary, she suddenly realized her slip and looked at me nervously. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. It's all right, I said with a smile. I think Mary really would like it. She always hoped I could step out of my comfort zone and try new ways of expressing myself. Nicole let out a sigh of relief, then hesitantly asked, Professor George, may I ask you a personal question? What is it? When you faced the woman impersonating Professor Nicole, how did you see through her? I mean, from the news reports, she seemed like an exact copy of Professor Nicole. I pondered for a moment. Superficial resemblance is easy to achieve, but a true personality cannot be duplicated. Mary's perception of art, her attitude toward life, the way she handled details, these were all unique. Just like a work of art, Nicole mused, no matter how perfect a replica is, it can never capture the soul of the original. Exactly. We worked through the night again, and finally established the overall framework for the Rebirth series. 7 pieces, each blending elements of painting and jewelry, together telling a story of loss and recovery, death and rebirth. As our collaboration deepened, my relationship with Nicole gradually shifted from teacher and student to partners, both mentor and friend. Sometimes, when the light traced the gentle contours of her focused profile, I would unconsciously think of Mary. But soon, I realized that this association wasn't due to any physical resemblance, but rather that same dedication and passion for art. "George, you look much more spirited lately," Frank remarked at a gathering. "It's been a while since I've seen you so full of life." "Yeah, the new project has helped me rediscover the joy of creating." "Nicole's a good girl," Frank said meaningfully. "Talented, and she really understands you." I understood his implication, but just smiled without responding. There was indeed a special understanding between Nicole and me, but it was more rooted in our shared passion for art than anything else. At least for now. The creation of the Rebirth series took 3 months, longer than expected, but the results were stunning. Each piece was a perfect fusion of painting and jewelry art, offering both the pleasure of viewing as a flat image and the discovery of 3-dimensional effects brought by the jewelry elements from different angles. A week before the exhibition opened, I received an unexpected visitor, Luna. She had served her sentence and was released early. She looked much more haggard than the last time we met, but her eyes were clearer. "I came to apologize to you in person." She stood at the studio door, her voice low, "for everything I have done." I didn't respond immediately, but simply invited her in to sit down. "I know that an apology can't make up for the loss," she continued, "but I want you to know that I truly regret it." "How is your sister's illness?" I asked. She looked up in surprise. You know. I guessed. "You said you needed money for a reason, and I think that must have been true." "Yes," she nodded. "My sister's surgery was a success, and now she's fully recovered. For the past 3 years, I've been thinking about how to make up for my mistakes, even though I may never be able to." I was silent for a moment, then said, "You know, in a way, your appearance actually helped me." "What do you mean?" "It forced me to confront the past, to re-examine my memories with Mary, and ultimately to find a way forward." I pointed to the sketches of the Rebirth series on the wall and briefly explained this new project. Luna listened quietly, a look of genuine respect in her eyes. "I'm glad you were able to find a new beginning from that nightmare," she said at last. "I hope I can find my own path to rebirth as well." As she left, she handed me a small package. "These are some simple pieces of jewelry I made in prison. The craftsmanship is rough, but each one represents my remorse and blessings. I hope you can accept them." Opening the package, I found several small trinkets handmade from fine wire and colorful glass beads. Though simple, it was clear the creator had poured their heart into them. Nicole happened to come into the studio at that moment. Seeing the trinkets, she asked curiously, "What are these?" I told her about Luna's visit. "You forgave her?" Nicole was a bit surprised. "Not exactly forgiveness," I said thoughtfully. "It's more like understanding. Everyone has their own hardships and choices. What's important is how we learn and grow from our mistakes." Nicole nodded pensively, picking up a piece of jewelry to examine it closely. "The craftsmanship is rough, but the concept is ingenious. This person seems to have a talent for design." "Perhaps," I said. "Everyone has the possibility of being reborn." On the day of the exhibition opening, numerous figures from the art and jewelry worlds gathered together. The Rebirth series received unprecedented acclaim. Critics called it a model of cross-disciplinary art, and the gallery owner was overjoyed, announcing plans for a nationwide tour. In the crowd, I saw Luna. She was dressed simply, standing quietly in a corner, admiring the exhibits. Our eyes met in the air. She nodded slightly, then walked away. "Who was that?" Nicole asked, standing beside me. "Someone searching for rebirth," I replied. Nicole seemed to understand and asked no more. We stood side by side before the pursuit, watching the blood amber refract a strange light under the lamps, like the silent burning of life's flame. "Thank you," I whispered to Nicole. "Without you, this series might never have come into being." "It was your philosophy that guided us, Teacher Nicole," she replied modestly. "I was just fortunate enough to be the messenger." In that moment, I suddenly understood the true meaning of what Mary had written in her letter. Love has changed its form. Love exists not only in memory and longing, but also in inheritance and innovation, shining brightly in every spark of artistic creation. And I, at last, had learned how to begin anew after loss, to embrace rebirth while still searching. The success of the exhibition exceeded everyone's expectations. In just 1 month, the Rebirth series was reported on by major media outlets and even attracted the attention of the international art world. A renowned auction house extended an olive branch to me, hoping to include several pieces in their annual highlight auction. "This is an unprecedented opportunity," Frank said excitedly. "If the deal goes through, you'll become a top player in the contemporary art market." I wasn't particularly concerned with commercial success, but I did feel the joy of having my work widely recognized. More importantly, this series opened up a new artistic path for me, freeing me from the creative shackles of the past 3 years. Nicole benefited as well. As the project's jewelry design consultant, she received high praise from the industry. Several well-known jewelry brands reached out to her, hoping she would join their design teams. "Which offer are you planning to accept?" One night, as we were tidying up the studio together, I asked her. "To be honest, I'm still hesitating." Nicole paused her work. "These are all great opportunities, but what? But I want to keep working with you." She looked straight into my eyes. "Rebirth is just the beginning, isn't it?" Her candor surprised me a little. Indeed, the success of this series had opened up many new creative possibilities for us, but I wasn't sure if I should continue such a close working relationship. "You should consider your own career development," I said tactfully. "These opportunities are very rare for young designers." Nicole seemed to sense my hesitation and nodded gently. "I understand." In the days that followed, we were both busy and rarely had the chance to talk alone. A week later, Nicole told me she had decided to accept an invitation from a French jewelry brand and would be going to Paris to work for 2 years. "Congratulations," I said sincerely. "It's a very good choice." "Thank you," she replied with a smile, though a fleeting, elusive emotion flashed in her eyes. "I think this is the best arrangement for both of us." Before Nicole left, we held a small farewell party. Frank, the curator, and a few mutual friends came. The atmosphere was warm, tinged with a hint of sadness. After a few rounds of drinks, Frank found an opportunity to pull me aside. "Are you really going to just let her go like this?" "What do you mean?" I pretended not to understand. "Don't play dumb, man," Frank said bluntly. "You have feelings for her. That's obvious." "That's just professional rapport," I argued. "Is that so?" Frank looked at me meaningfully. "Then why have you been so distracted ever since she decided to go to France?" I was at a loss for words. In fact, these past few days I had indeed felt an inexplicable sense of loss, but I kept telling myself it was only because I had lost an excellent partner. "I know what you're worried about." Frank lowered his voice. "You feel like you're letting Mary down, don't you?" I remained silent. He had touched upon the deepest concern in my heart. "Mary has been gone for 3 years now." Frank gently patted my shoulder. "She would want you to be happy." After the party ended, I walked Nicole home. The night was tranquil as water, and the city lights flowed around us. "Thank you for your help and guidance these past few months." Nicole stopped at the entrance of her apartment building. "This experience has meant so much to me." "I should be thanking you," I said sincerely. "Without you, the Rebirth series would never have been completed." We fell into silence, as if both searching for the right words to say goodbye. "My flight is the morning after tomorrow," Nicole finally said. "I still have some things to take care of tomorrow. So, this is probably the last time we'll see each other." 2 years will pass quickly. I tried to make my voice sound light. "Paris is a beautiful city. You'll like it there." She nodded, a complex emotion flickering in her eyes. "Professor George, there's something I've always wanted to tell you, but never found the right opportunity." "What is it?" "I chose to study jewelry design because I saw Nicole's works." She took a deep breath, or more precisely, because I saw the pieces Nicole designed for you. The way she perfectly fused love and art moved me deeply. "I didn't know that," I said in surprise. "I've always hoped that one day I could be like Nicole, creating art filled with emotion." Nicole continued, her words coming faster, as if afraid she might lose her courage. "But now I realize that what I want even more is to create for a specific person, just like Nicole created for you." I understood her implication, and my heart suddenly began to race. Nicole, please don't respond. She gently interrupted me. I just wanted you to know before I leave. No matter how you feel right now, remember that starting over is not a betrayal of the past, but a way of cherishing life. With that, she rose up on her tiptoes and softly kissed my cheek, then quickly turned and walked into the apartment building, leaving me standing alone in the night, my mind in turmoil. After returning home, I tossed and turned, unable to sleep, replaying Nicole's words and that gentle kiss over and over in my mind. Suddenly, I remembered a small box in the study, where Mary's last complete letter was kept, a letter I had found while sorting through her belongings. But at the time, overwhelmed by grief, I never had the courage to open. Now, I finally mustered the courage to walk into the study and retrieve that delicate little box from the depths of the drawer. Inside lay a pale pink letter, bearing Mary's familiar handwriting. Dearest George, by the time you read this letter, you may find yourself at a crossroads in life, hesitating between moving forward or staying where you are. My greatest wish is that you can move bravely through life, as freely as your brush glides across the canvas. Love is not a shackle, but a liberation. Memory is not a burden, but a source of strength. If one day you meet someone who can rekindle the light in your eyes, please don't hesitate because of your longing for me. True love is wishing happiness for the other, even if there is no longer a place for oneself in that happiness. Remember, the days we loved each other were complete, with no need for regrets. And now, it's time to paint a new picture, my beloved. Forever loving you. Mary. Tears blurred my vision. It was as if Mary had foreseen my current situation and had already given me her blessing. She was always like this, always able to see further and more clearly than I could. At that moment, I made up my mind. Early the next morning, I drove straight to Nicole's apartment. Professor George? Nicole opened the door in surprise, clearly not expecting me. I have something to say to you. I looked her straight in the eyes, not as your teacher, but as George. I handed her Mary's letter. Nicole read it carefully, her expression shifting from surprise to being moved, and finally, her eyes grew moist. She truly was an extraordinary woman, Nicole said softly, handing the letter back to me. Yes, she was. I nodded. That's exactly why I believe her words. Nicole, cancel your plans for Paris. Stay and continue our collaboration, will you? Nicole looked at me in shock. Are you serious? I've never been more serious, I said quietly. Rebirth is not just the name of an artwork, it's a possibility in life. Are you willing to explore that possibility with me? Her answer was a firm embrace, warm and real, like the first ray of sunlight after a long winter. In that moment, I felt as if Mary was somewhere, smiling down on us, blessing this new beginning. Life is like that blood amber, enduring countless ages of change and sedimentation, ultimately transforming into an eternal radiance. And I, at last, understood what true pursuit is, what true rebirth means. A year later, Nicole and I unveiled our second joint project, Interwoven, at the National Art Museum. This series was even bolder and more innovative than Rebirth, blending Eastern and Western aesthetics with various art forms. Critics hailed it as a significant breakthrough in contemporary art. At the opening ceremony, Nicole held my arm as we faced the media interviews and congratulations from the audience together. She wore a simple white dress, and around her neck was the Eye of Rebirth necklace we designed together. She completed the jewelry part based on my painting. Your collaboration seems even more in sync than your last project, a reporter asked with a suggestive smile. Nicole glanced at me, and we exchanged a smile. Yes, both in art and in life, we found the perfect balance. This indirect answer drew a round of good-natured laughter from the reporters present. My relationship with Nicole was no longer a secret, but we always kept a low profile, letting the public's attention remain focused on our artistic creations. After the exhibition, we drove out to a small hill in the countryside. There stood an ancient oak tree, beneath which Mary's ashes were laid to rest. This was the place we chose, rather than a traditional cemetery, natural, peaceful, just like Mary herself. Mary, the exhibition was a great success today, I said softly to the stone beneath the tree. Nicole's designs were admired by everyone, just as you once predicted. Nicole crouched down and placed a bouquet of white daisies in front of the stone. Teacher Nicole, I've been working hard to become the kind of designer you hoped I would be. I hope you can be proud of me. A gentle breeze stirred, and the oak's leaves rustled softly, as if it were Mary's reply. On the way back, Nicole suddenly said, I've been thinking about something. What is it? If that woman who pretended to be Ms. Nicole hadn't appeared, You might never have found the blood amber, never created the pursuit, and we might never have met. Her words made me fall into deep thought. Indeed, it was the series of events triggered by that deception that ultimately led to everything now. It feels as if, in the unseen, some force has been orchestrating it all. Perhaps that's the irony of fate, I said softly. Sometimes, the worst beginnings can lead us to the best endings. When I returned home, I received an unexpected package. Upon opening it, I found a delicate little box containing a handmade ring. Though simple, the craftsmanship had improved greatly compared to the pieces I had seen before. There was a note attached. Mr. George, thank you for your kindness and understanding a year ago, which gave me the courage to start over. Now I have found a job at a small jewelry shop, and my life is gradually getting back on track. This ring represents my gratitude, and I wish you happiness and well-being on your new path. Luna, I handed the ring to Nicole. After examining it carefully, she remarked, her skills have improved a lot. She truly is talent. Some mistakes in life shouldn't become permanent scars, I sighed. Everyone deserves a second chance. That night, we sat in the studio, discussing ideas for the next series. Nicole suddenly proposed a bold idea. I was thinking, maybe we could try connecting the different stages of our work to create a complete narrative. From eternity to quest, then to rebirth, and intertwined, they're actually different phases in a person's life journey. You mean? A complete story about loss, searching, rebirth, and integration, she explained excitedly, ultimately asking what is the most precious treasure in life. Love. I finished her sentence. No matter what form it takes. Nicole nodded, her eyes sparkling with creative fire. We could call it the forms of love, an unprecedented artistic exploration. Sounds like a long-term, ambitious project. We have time, she smiled, holding my hand. We have so much time. In that moment, I felt a powerful surge of creative inspiration, just like when I first began my artistic career years ago, filled with passion and possibility. But this time, I was not facing the blank canvas alone. 2 years later, the Forms of Love series was exhibited simultaneously in the world's 5 greatest art museums, causing an unprecedented sensation. Critics called it a milestone in contemporary art history, blending painting, sculpture, jewelry design, and other art forms to create an entirely new artistic language. The final piece of the exhibition was titled Eternal Ring, a massive circular canvas depicting every form of love in life, familial, platonic, romantic, and the love for art itself. The edge of the canvas was inlaid with gemstones of various sizes, and under certain lighting, these gems would cast light onto specific parts of the canvas, revealing another hidden layer of patterns. The centerpiece of this work is a massive blood amber. Through intricate optical design, the light it projects perfectly outlines 2 embracing figures. One is Mary, the other is Nicole, symbolizing the intersection of past and present, the fusion of memory and rebirth. On the closing day of the exhibition, in front of the Eternal Ring, I knelt on one knee and proposed to Nicole. The ring was crafted from the very blood amber Mary had once prepared for me, designed by my own hand and fashioned by the finest jeweler. This ring carries the memories of the past and the hopes for the future, I whispered softly. Nicole, will you be the eternal ring in my life? Her tears sparkled under the spotlight. I will. Amidst the cheers, I remembered what Mary once said. Love does not disappear. It merely changes its form. Yes, love does not disappear. It exists in memories, in art, in every rebirth and new beginning. It traverses time and crosses space, like that blood amber which, after millions of years, still shines, forever retaining the original warmth and brilliance of life. This is the answer I have been searching for all along. Between loss and gain, between seeking and rebirth, love remains constant, only appearing in different forms along the journey of life. And all we need to do is bravely accept this gift, no matter how it comes to us. On the day of the wedding, the sky was a clear, washed blue. Beneath the ancient oak tree that had watched over Mary, we exchanged our vows. A gentle breeze stirred, making the leaves whisper as if blessings were drifting in from another world. No matter when or where, Nicole said softly, We'll always remember that it was she who brought us together. Yes, I squeezed her hand, and we will always cherish this gift. In the brilliant sunlight, the blood amber ring gleamed, radiant as life itself, enduring the passage of time, yet still shining bright.